What is going on, everybody? It's Sacred Eagle, and today I'm stepping aside from the Eagles videos because playoffs are upon us. And for once, our Philadelphia Eagles are actually in those playoffs, not in the wildcard game. Man, it feels good to say that they're not in the wildcard game because I would be a little bit worried if they were. But anywho, we got the one of 4 games. I'm going to go through all 4 of them this week, and then I'm going to talk about Eagles in between and stuff, blah, blah, blah. But today I'm going to talk about probably the most important game as far as the Eagles go, because I don't want to see the Saints coming into Philly. And the Saints host the Panthers. Now, if you don't know, the Saints have swept the Panthers this season. Yeah, they've beaten the Panthers twice, yet their record is the exact same. And I'm worried for this game. I'm worried because the last time we hosted a playoff game was 2013, where Drew Brees, Darren Sproles, and numerous others came up to Philadelphia with Nick Foles as our starting quarterback, and we ended up losing by a score of 26-24. And we got the ball back with like 40 seconds left, and we could not punch it in. Man, and looking at this game, it's going to be a great game, and I'm hoping that with 2 losses against this team under their belt this season, that Cam Newton, Ron Rivera, and the Carolina Panthers figure out what they got to do to beat this team. Because, in my opinion, Panthers at Philly sounds a lot better than New Orleans at Philly, just because the Panthers and the Eagles are more balanced, and the New Orleans Saints can beat almost any team easy, except for LA, most likely, and Minnesota, the 2 teams that the Saints have lost to this season. It's kind of crazy looking at the entire NFC. You have the Eagles. They played Seattle, not in the playoffs, so that game doesn't matter. As far as playoff teams go, the Eagles have played the Panthers, beat them. The Rams beat them. That's it. They have never played the Falcons, the Saints, or the Vikings. The Panthers, I believe they played the Vikings. Yes, they played the Vikings and won. They've lost to the Saints twice. They've split with the Falcons. And let me think, who else? Rams, I don't think they played the Rams. And then they played the Eagles, and the Eagles beat them. So, that's the NFC. There's no clear-cut team. At least when you talk about that at a head-to-head kind of mentality, because not every team has played each other, but a majority of these 6 teams have played a majority of the other, the 5 others, and they've won or lost some of these games. Like the Vikings have lost to the Panthers, Rams have lost to the Eagles, but they've beaten. And the Rams have lost to the Eagles, the Vikings, but they've beaten the Saints. It's a really competitive NFC conference in this playoff run this year. And that's why the Eagles and Vikings are very lucky they're not playing on the Wildcard Weekend, because who knows who they'd be playing right now if they were not taking their bye. But moving back to the Saints and the Panthers, I want the Panthers to win. Do I think they could win? Yes. Because even though this is at the Superdome, and though they've gotten swept by this team, the Panthers should know this team, after these 2 games, that they've lost a lot better than they did before coming into the season. They didn't expect Alvin Kamara or Mark Ingram to be 2 of the running backs, 2 of the many players this year with 1,500 scrimmage yards in total. That's insane that they both have 1,500 total scrimmage yards just by themselves. That's insane. And then you got Drew Brees at the helm, throwing to people like Willie Snead. You got a lot of guys there, And, man, Cam Newton, they lost Kelvin Benjamin, so wide receiver-wise, they're not as strong as they used to be. But their defense is okay. Their defense is decent. Both these 2 teams have decent defenses. Their offenses are their bigger strengths, and Cam Newton, you got to get Christian McCaffrey going. That's number 1. Number 2, Jonathan Stewart, if he's available to play, because, he's been struggling with injury. You need to get him going. as well. You need to get that run game going and run right up the throat of the New Orleans Saints. As far as the Saints versus the Panthers go, they can just let Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara lead the captain, Drew Brees, to victory, depending on how the Panthers play this game. Because the big thing about the Panthers and how they have to play this game, they have to worry about Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. And then, of course, they're freaking wideouts, you know? If Drew Brees drops back, they got targets to throw to. And freaking Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, you can throw to them whenever, and they'll make a -5 play into a freaking positive +5 play. You know, like, these guys are good. And that's why they're the scariest team, and that's why, in my opinion, if the Eagles were to play the Vikings, the Panthers, the Rams even, I would feel somewhat confident against them. Because I know my offense will somehow manage to wake up and play football, with or without Carson Wentz. The last 2 weeks, sure, they haven't played well. It's time to get acclimated to the weather. It's time to open up the playbook and adjust to Nick Foles' strengths, because he is not, and I repeat, is not a Carson Wentz. Okay? Okay. But the defense will be key for the Eagles, no matter who they play against. I want the Panthers to win this game, but with what I've just said, it's unlikely that they'll win, especially in New Orleans. But I'm going to root for them, and I'm going to say they go in and come out victorious with the upset win. Will it be difficult? Yeah, it will be difficult. But I feel like they can do it. I feel like they can do it because, again, they have 2 losses under their belt. You know, it's one thing to get swept. It's one thing to lose to your team once. It's one thing to get swept by your team. But to lose 3 times, one of those times in the playoffs where your season is legitimately on the line, you have the potential to win against your division rival who you've struggled against and make a run for the Super Bowl, that right there stings the most. That one right there stings the most, and I don't think that Cam Newton and Ron Rivera would allow it. And if they do allow it, it won't be an easy win. I don't think Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram are going to have as much success as they've had against the Panthers the couple of times they played beforehand. And I don't think that Drew Brees is going to have that easy of a day throwing the football. But man, I'm scared of the Saints, if you can't tell. I'm very scared of the Saints. Everybody else, not so much. But the Saints, there's something about them. Mostly because that defense after those first 2 weeks have been a lot better. Add on the way that Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram have stepped up in the run game, the way their offensive line creates the separation and lets them run through the tackles. They are fun to watch, but against my team, I don't want to watch. So tell me in the comments down below, what are your thoughts on this game? Who do you think the impact players for both sides of the ball are going to be? I got Luke Kuechly, Cam Newton for sure, and Christian McCaffrey. They got to get these guys involved. The Panthers need to play like they want this win. The way they played against the Falcons is not going to cut at all. There's no way they can come in and play like they did against the freaking Falcons and win this football game. They were making mental mistakes left and right. Greg Olsen and Cam Newton, this is big. They need to get on the same page. I get it. Greg Olsen has been injured with what, an ankle injury for majority of this year. He's back. He's healthy now. You guys need to get on the same page. We saw against the Falcons, they struggled to make those big plays that they always make together. They struggled to get the ball to him. It was just a mess. It was just a flat-out mess, and you cannot play that way. You play that way against the Falcons. One, that's a divisional rival, and two, that game had a lot on the line, and you blew it. But this time around, you're playing the Saints, man. This game is bigger than any game that you've played so far this year. And Greg Olsen, Cam Newton, they need to get on the same page, and if they can't do that, then clearly something is wrong. Because you don't see that issue with Drew Brees and his running backs and his wideouts. You don't ever see that. And you guys got to definitely target Marshawn Lattimore because he's a rookie. He's bound to make mistakes somehow. He's one hell of a corner, though. I'll give him props. I'll give the entire New Orleans Saints team props. They've been one hell of a team to watch this year. And it's going to be a really fun game, and I cannot wait to watch this game. But at the end of the day, I think I'm going to go out and say Panthers will win this game, a very close game, by a score of 31-28. Tell me what you guys think in the comments down below of this game, and I'll see you guys tomorrow when I talk about the other NFC game that's taking place in the Coliseum.